Welcome back, Tarot the Twist with me, Kev. And this is another series in Last Ask the Cards. Originally, this whole thing was around written, so people would go to my website, wordofthetwist.com, log in as a member, free or paid, and then ask a question. And the questions could be anything in the world today, whether it be political, cultural, it doesn't matter. But it wasn't really personal, right? Because that's not what this is about. And so they'd ask a question, I would go ahead and write it. And I wanted to show you how I did that with my practice. So what I would do is that when I first pulled the cards, I didn't just start writing. I actually would write it down in my journal. Okay. And then once I kind of had all my thought process down, I put that in an area called the breakdown. And so the breakdown shows you how I think through the cards. And then the reading was short, 50 to 200 words max, kind of like a flash story. And writing is something called flash fiction, between 50 and 100 words or something like that. It could be a little bit more of his flash, but I keep it kind of thin. Or is it micro flash? I don't remember. But the point is like it's 50 to 100 words, maybe 200. And then I started adding in numerology recently to it as well. So at the bottom after the read, I'd have the numbers never lie, because they don't, right? Numbers are everything as far as I'm concerned, right? It's a part of the truth of the universe. And that would then help reflect back on the reading and clarify what I was seeing. And the reason why I use the Marseille most of the time, sometimes I'll use tarot, the Rider Waite, or I even will use playing cards. But the reason why I use the Marseille is because I want to kind of keep it to tradition and going back in time, where I'm taking the esoteric out and reading it for what it is. So when I do the readings as well, a lot of times you're going to be like, how the hell did he come up with that? Because I'm reading the cards as what I see, not what the textbook means, if that makes sense. All right. So as I kept doing this more and more, people like the video stuff I was doing. I'm thinking to myself, all right, then you know what? Maybe I'll add a little more of this into video. Now, insiders can ask detailed questions, and I'll do readings on those as well, but that's a different type of membership level. But for this, it's about the collective, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go over with you today this reading that I did, and it was all around, if you go to the website and read it, it was called Why Americans Eat What CEOs Won't. Okay, it's about the food supply and how they're creating issues with what we ingest in this country, and is why are people compliant even though they know the food is disastrous for them, right? It causes all kinds of problems. And so when I do the readings in the Marseille, I always start with the center card. They're always face down. So when I read two, I always do cold reads. I never want to know what the cards are. I just don't want to know. So they start with 3 cards pulled, all face down. And then with Marseille, I start with the center card as my overall theme. And in this reading, it was the King of Cups. I'll go into here in a minute when I turn the camera off, and we'll go down to my hands and I can show you a little more up close. And then after I kind of get the vibe of the king, I then pull the next 2 cards over, because these are what are the flanking cards, or I mirror it, right, to kind of see how it impacts the energy of the king, or how it reacts to the energy of the king. And so what I had to think about too was like, well, in this question is about what keeps American compliant with a food supply that's not the best, right? And a food supply that even CEOs who sell it won't eat it because they know it's terrible. And I said, okay, well, I need 2 entities. I need the entity that represents the corporation or the system. I need another entity that represents the people. And at first, when I saw the king, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely the corporation. And then I pull the next 2 over, I'm like, yep, the horse is the people. Okay. And so that's kind of how I started putting this reading together. Now, I'm going to turn the camera off. We're going to go ahead and get into the details of this read. Okay. Give me 1 second, and we're going to dive into this 3-card reading. I may pull a few more cards. All right. So when we get into the readings with Marseille, what's really important is the position of the characters in the cards and the way the shapes look and feel. It's really important to study that and look at that. So when you see the king here, I'm not reading this as reversed, where a lot of people will be like, well, this is, emotional manipulation or something like that. But there's more to this, because if you look at the king, right, what do you see? You see a king looking at that coin right there. So it's almost like he wants to keep people manipulated in order to churn profit based on decisions he makes that will basically feed that. So as he continues to think about ways to increase income for his company with toxic food, he's always deciding how to serve the public that will give him the most bang for his buck. All right. And his feet are all moving this way, which is active energy, always into the future. So every thought that he has, looking here, is always to move him forward. All right. So that's how I see the king. And when you think about it, he's also an entity or a system that's always trying to think 24/7. He never sleeps, right? He's always pushing propaganda, and that keeps the people overwhelmed. And so the question again was, what keeps Americans compliant with poison food supply? The CEOs who sell it won't eat. And so why are people compliant? Because we're always under the spell from this system or this guy, right? Gal or whatever. And then the people then feel so overwhelmed that they think they have no options. They have no way out. So the king is then the puppet master to do what? Control the masses. All right. So his job is to gaslight all the time without ever letting up. So the next thing you do is, okay, so that's kind of like the theme of the read. Now we're going to look at the other two cards. So you see the Three of Coins here and the Knight of Wands. This is fire and this is earth. Okay. And what's interesting here is that when you look at the Three of Coins, because of energy with the king here, this card's all around to keep the supply chain limited, right? So you're always having to decide what you want to do. So you only have two choices, and they are the ones that are provided to the people. So the options are only given. The new products are given to the people because they have limited choices in what they can buy. So that's why the king's always, again, observing that coin, finding a way to always drive profit no matter what. Because again, he's got to manipulate people to believe they don't have any choice at all to do anything. And then when you look at the Knight here, the Knight is kind of like a reckless card, fire, really active energy. And also he kind of always looking away. So rather than trying to understand what the problem is, he's looking this way into the future. Like he doesn't really care. So it's all about, well, I want to go watch a football game. I want to go and just give me some beer and popcorn. I don't really care. I just want to get a move on and do what I want to do. I want to ignore life. I just want to watch TV. I just want to go party and have a hell of a good time. And I have no attention span because looking this way, I don't really care. And when you look at the two cards here together, when you want to compare the Three of Coins to the Knight of Wands, you're seeing how like he doesn't even have time to cook because he's too busy wanting to go, right? So it's really the king's plan and play is all about convenience overrules health. Because for him to have his growth or his expansion or his community, he don't want to sit there and cook. He wants us to go out and party and have a really good time. So that's kind of how I read these three cards. And then when you put together as a solid read, like I did on the written site, right? Go check that out. It's about people stay compliant because they want to. They're not willing to really address the problem, so they ignore it, right? They always are deflecting. They don't want to deal with it, right? It's just too much. They want somebody else to come and save them. And that's why this corporation can always jam synthetic food down their throats because the people just go along with it. They just want somebody else to save them. They don't want to save themselves. So this guy has trained the populace, right, to what? Always consume. That's why you have the 3 coins here, right? It's always about eating the next meal fast food. Yeah, I'm just going to go and I'm not cooking. I'm just going to go. And I only got time for the next test messages. I'm scrolling through the internet, right? Without any kind of thought, just go. And it's all around taking things fast, consuming, and the next. So it's short-term pleasure for long-term gain. And it's really becoming the American way. And that's what this king is all about. And that's what he wants to do. So he manipulates people into believing that the only path forward for them is their supply. And so he keeps them so off kilter where they can't see anything. And now what you can do, pull another card to see what's keeping these people distracted from dealing with this person, right? So I shuffled the deck earlier, so I'm going to pull a top card, and you have the 10 of Wands, is that they're distracted by always being overburdened. They just want to have some fun. They don't want to deal with it anymore, right? So that's why you have this really 10 energy. It's like they just want to go and just let loose. They don't want to be tied down to anything. They don't have any cares in the world. They just want to do what they want to do and just get on with it. And that's why now when you see 2 cards together, the horse even saying, you know what, even though I kind of shouldn't, let's just go this direction and ignore this guy, let him do what he wants because we don't really care. And then you keep pulling here, you say, well, now the Page of Wands is reversed. So that's interesting to see the page come up. And you look at how he's seen here. So the people are like, well, I know I'm burnt out. I want to party. But at the same time, that if I don't end up taking care of myself, then I'm going to have no will even to fight anything. I'll be so drained of energy because my health will be destroyed. And by seeing the page upside down, so remember when the page is like this, It's all about seeking new desires, seeking your passions, your creativity. When it's upside down, it's like the creativity and passion have been drained. And even so that he's so drained that all he can see is what? The fire and the feet. And he can see the king, and he wants to address the king, but he's so wore out now and unhealthy because he's eating crap all the time, always partying, that his energy is wiped out. So he's all like, you know what? I'm done. I have nothing more to give. So I'm not really reading that as tyrannical. I'm reading it as like, after the 10, I'm completed. I can't do no more because I've exhausted all my energy and I've been brainwashed so much by this guy that I have nothing less to give. So therefore, I just do whatever they say. I can't grow. The king exhausts them. You see how it's working now where you start pairing it because you are being reckless and not taking responsibility and doing the right thing by taking care of this person or your own health. So that is a way to read 3 cards with Marseille where you just kind of start building onto it. And if you want to sit, I even like go a little further and say, well, you know, I see he's being kind of reckless here. And the question is why? Like, what's he thinking about? Like, what's driving this? Well, we already kind of have the answer, but I want to look at what's kind of known in his head. You go like this: the 8 of coins. It's like he's burnt out because he just can't get ahead. It's like no matter what he does, it's like he's just being drained even financially. So he's like, screw it. I'm just going to go and party and live it up. And I don't really care about anything anymore because no matter what I do, everything is just killing me. You know, so I'm working for what? No pleasure, no fun, just be manipulated to eat crap. And I can't even find decent food to eat. So you know what? To hell with it. To hell with it. So I'll find my stability by just moving forward and just doing what I want and not care anymore. That's what he's kind of thinking. Then what's driving it under the shadows? You pull a card below it. He has no more strength left in him. See the lion there? The strength card is like the lion now eating him alive, right? He can no longer control it because he's just so drained all the time. He as in the American people. And so that's why they tolerate it, is because they have no energy to fight it. They can't even control the beast anymore because it's out of control. The beast is now controlling them. And then you can continue to pull cards either way to see, like, okay, so he's being controlled. Maybe you say, well, okay, how? 6 of Wands is like by taking away their passions, by taking away their desires. So everything that they really found peace in, we strip that away. How? By feeding them crap, making them unhealthy, bankrupting them, making them broke, and then again, taking away all their energy because they can't really get a good solid meal to save their life, right? So that's all I got on my 3-card reading. If you want to go ahead and read the actual clean, concise version of this, that's a lot more eloquently laid out, head over to wordswithtwist.com and you can just see the article called Why Americans Eat What CEOs Won't, and you'll see also numerology section to it. Anyway, that's all I got. And if you want to ask your own question, head over to wordswithtwist.com, sign up as a member. It is free, and ask your question. It'll be put in the queue, and I'll do the read. All right, until next time, I want to see my next video. All right, bye, everybody.